And now yoga is sort of pretty well accepted as a
So you can use yoga to treat trauma.
You don't treat trauma. You yoga to treat your relationship to your body. It's not the same thing, but trauma really distorts your relationship to your body. And what our research also shows is that when you start doing yoga, certain brain areas that tend to get sort of dampened by trauma come to life. It's an adaptive thing because trauma is so relived in visceral experiences. As Darwin said, heartbreaking gut wrench is the visual sensations. And so if you're constantly heartbroken and gut wrenched, you try to pull that down. And so you lose contact with your body as a defensive maneuver of feeling overwhelmed by these physical sensations.
So I want to make sure I understand this. Yeah. So the insular part of the brain is the part that links what we do with how we feel?
How we viscerally feel, what's happening in our bodies.
Okay, so it links how we're feeling in our bodies
to what we know about ourselves. Yeah,
the stories we have in our head about ourselves. Yeah. So that's what the insula does, and trauma interrupts that, which causes what kind of dysfunction on a day-to-day basis?
That you are out of touch with your feeling. You feel numbed out.
Or disconnected.
You don't feel alive. You don't feel connected. You can't feel pleasure.
Or you feel hypersensitive.
And you feel hypersensitive.
Because you talk about the two sort of responses being disconnection or hypersensitivity.
So there's always these two contradictory things that coexist. Remembering too much and remembering too little. Feeling too much and feeling too little. There is no happy medium. You go from one extreme to another. You're agitated and numbed out at the same time. And I bet you know what it's like, because we all have been there, that we feel agitated and at the same time we feel completely nothing at all. And there's almost no mind there. And that, I think, is a very uncommon human experience.
And the insula is playing a role. The
insula plays a big role in that, and many other brain structures.
So if I start doing yoga, what is that then doing to that hypersensitivity disconnection?
Yoga makes it possible for you to reconnect your senses in a way, to feel what you feel and to make it safe what you feel. So that's where you go to a yoga studio with a teacher with a nice voice who really helps you to now take a deep breath, stretch out your arms, feel that warrior 3 pose, and then you start feeling it. And for many people, doing yoga can be actually quite agitating, scary actually in a way. For traumatized people, we see it all the time, is that something gets triggered and you start getting upset just doing a simple down dog, let's say. Or certainly the yoga pose that all sexual abuse victims have great trouble with is the happy baby pose. Happy baby pose is when you put your feet in the air, you lie on your back, you hold your toes, and you spread your legs wide so your pelvis is up against the air. For most of us, that's a very pleasant pose, makes you relaxed. If you're a sexual abuse survivor, that's going to trigger a lot of stuff.
Really?
Yeah. And you have to be very careful doing that.
Because it's
triggering. And so because these positions may be triggering, you may hold your body in a frozen position in order not to trigger those feelings of sexual abuse.
I was just thinking as you're speaking about a friend of mine who tends to go through life with a sort of crumpled up body. And they're low self-esteem, they're quite low confident. I don't know if they're traumatized in any way, can't pass judgment on that. But they started doing yoga and it really has helped their mental health in a profound way. And I'm just wondering what you think the link is between someone who, I'm just telling you on the surface, is like crumpled up through their life, but then goes...
Absolutely. I told you I was a sickly child. I was really sickly until I had asthma. I was 13. And I think the most helpful thing I ever did was rolfing. Rolfing is a very intense form of massage where they sort of tear your muscles from your fascia. And I came to live in a new body. I no longer live frozen in that body of this little child who almost died. It had a profound effect on me, as much as anything I've ever done.
Why and how?
Because you get stuck in habits. In a way, trauma becomes a habit. My habit is that when I see a strong guy in a room, I get scared. Hypothetical situation. And so you have habitual responses. And part of what you do therapy for is to get to realize your habitual responses and become curious about it. Like whenever a person like that comes in the room, I freeze and I sound like an idiot. And your therapist says, so what happens in your body? And how long have you felt this way? Did you feel this way when you were 6 or 3 or 8? And then at some point people get a narrative that may begin to explain it. And that narrative may say, oh, I was bullied by somebody. And that feeling comes back when I meet somebody who reminds me of my bully. And then you go like, have you ever tried martial arts? And see what it be like for you to actually learn to use your body to fight somebody. And that's, for example, a treatment that I have never studied. But I was amazed how many of my close colleagues who are very much into trauma tell me at some point, oh, and now I have to go to my martial arts class.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, nobody sees that as a legitimate way of dealing with what they're dealing with. But I think people are doing their martial arts because they have memories of being victimized. And it gives them a visceral experience of my body can defend itself. I can use my body to take care of myself. And that's not an intellectual process, that's a visceral experience.
People often describe meeting somebody and their body just being off.
Yep.
So they say, I met this person and
Yep.
my body was I just felt
Yep.
something in my body
Yep.
that they can't consciously articulate, but they just feel
Yep.
it in their body. This person's a bit off.
Yep.
What do you think they're describing there?
I think they're describing two things. We pick up each other's energy. There's such a thing as the mirror neuron system, which hasn't received much attention in the past few years, but I think it's a very important invention that I pick up your energy. And if, let's say, you're depressed, but you have a job to do, to talk with me today, it's very likely